Hello, everyone. This is Debra Ruh, and this is Human Potential at Work. This is a special episode. We usually do one episode a week, but um, this is just really laying on my heart. And I know it's really laying on Doug Foresta's heart as well, who is my guest today. And some of you might know that Doug is my producer and long time friend and mentor to me. And we've been having these conversations, and we thought that it might be an interesting conversation to have with the audience, and we would be very interested in what you think about these conversations, because this is a time, as we all know, of great change and great sadness and some really cool things too at the same time. So please join me in welcoming Doug Foresta back to the program. And Doug, as a reminder, and I always say this wrong, he is a clinical psychologist.
I'm a
That's
clinical
okay.
social
What
worker.
you're going to
I'm
be
a
today.
social worker.
No matter which way, I'm going to get it wrong, because that's just the weird way my brain works. When I make a mistake in my brain, I'm very consistent with it. So if I call you Alice, you can expect that I'm going to call you Alice 15 more
So
times
funny.
until my brain. It's so weird how our brains work, because I
It
do
is.
love my brain, but
Yeah.
sometimes my brain acts sort of dingy. It's not me, but
Well, listen, it's not just you. It's not just you. And as you know, as you can see, I just want to say that I'm not driving. No hands. So
hopefully,
I'm
are you in a
no.
driverless car?
No. Yeah, exactly. I'm not driving. The reason I'm in here right now is because until my babies go to my mother-in-law's. This is the one quiet place in my life at this moment. So just for people who
So
are like,
so far they can't get the car door open. So
that's right, exactly. Give them a couple more
even
weeks,
though
and
I like how your youngest daughter, right before you got on air, spilt your wife's coffee
that's right.
all over her desk.
Yes,
And then what
and
did
then
she say?
she goes, "What happened?" After my wife's, like,
Freaked.
obviously upset. Yeah, freaked out. What happened?
What's going on?
What's going on? Did something
And
happen?
then
I have no idea. I was just
and
minding
then
my own
as your
business.
wife's trying to clean it up and coffee's all
Yeah,
over the floor, what happens?
yeah. Then she like throws herself into the spill and falls, and then she's crying. That's
And whose fault is that?
Oh, it's
Somehow
definitely
your
our
wife?
fault. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh
The
my God.
world of toddlers. How old is she now?
She will be 2 in June 27th. So she's almost 2. But
Oh,
yeah, I
fun.
mean, so it kind of ties into, um, it ties into sort of what we're going to talk about today. And it's funny because
I agree.
even this is as I look up, I see a squirrel eating the last bit of food out of our bird feeders. And so it reminds me that all of us are in a struggle right now of, how are we going to, get our next meal? How are we going to, how are we going to move forward in the world? Every creature alive is, has that struggle. But, we normally, you and I were talking about this, Deborah, and I think this is a great, I think it's a timely topic to discuss, which is we feel at times like there's certainty, and we can say, okay, in quarter one I have these goals, quarter two I have these goals, quarter three. But then there are times when we're so upended by life that it completely disrupts our lives. And right now it's very hard to have any certainty about what's going to happen, like with COVID-19. We don't know, will there be a vaccine, will there not be a vaccine, will there be a resurgence, will there not be a resurgence, will there be treatments, will there not be treatments. On top of that, we also talked about how the Pentagon has just released video footage of unidentified, I forget how they put it, not flying objects, but
No,
unidentified.
they call them unidentified flying objects.
They did,
I
okay.
believe they did. They said, and these
Yeah.
files had already been linked, and they were in several movies, including the movie which I watched and was extremely impressed with, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It is trending number one consistently, 1 to 3 on
Wow.
iTunes right now, and
Wow.
and it was crowdfunded. Dr. Stephen Greer is, this main star of it. But I found it very curious of the timing of our Pentagon. But I agree with you. I used to think that I had some control of my life. And very quickly, the universe, especially now, has showed me. I mean, as my husband got early onset dementia, at first I was in denial about it, and once again, I think sometimes with age, some of the delusions of my youth fall away, and that I think I had more control of my life than I really did. And I'm a big planner, I'm a big strategist, and yeah, how's that working for you?
How is that working out? And so, yeah, on top of the fact that we have to think about COVID-19, now we're thinking about, are there aliens visiting us? I mean, there's so many questions out there. And I think that, putting that question about how do you live your life, and at the same time, we have to plan to some degree, we have to make plans, we have to get up, we have to do things. Um, how do you do that in the midst of so much uncertainty?
And as a business owner, I'm a small business owner, and I thought about how much I wanted to disclose on air, because you want to always put on the front that everything's good, but
Yeah.
the reality is that over the years I've been an entrepreneur since 2001. Before I was an entrepreneur, I was in the banking industry. I actually really liked working in the banking industry. I liked a lot about it. I liked the people. I liked the work. I was in IT, and I was in charge of training, and it was very people oriented, and I'm very, very people focused. But I started feeling like maybe I couldn't make enough of an impact in the job. And so I'm going to become an entrepreneur. But the reality is, ever since I became an entrepreneur, I have not made very much money myself. Um, I have spent so much money, my own money. My father-in-law blessed us with a small inheritance, and so did my mom. And I funded that money into the company because I believe that I believe in team. I believe in, the majority of my team are people with disabilities, some with very severe disabilities, all that are brilliant and unique and creative and belong in the workforce. And if I don't do it, who is going to do it? I believed that. I've always felt, and I've talked about this in my books, Doug, I believe that I'm going to try to catch corporations doing things right, because I know
Mhm.
they're doing some things right. Yeah,
Yeah.
is some bad stuff being done? Absolutely. But I try to catch people doing things right. I'm telling you that my patience for that is wearing thin. I appreciate what big corporations are doing, but I'm getting really tired of the status quo. During this time of great change, I also I'm going to different avenues to get data than I normally would. I'm trying to understand what people are really saying and try to read between the lines. Once again, that strategist in my brain pops
Mhm.
in, right, Doug? But you look at things like, I believe that my company, of course I do, that my company should, continue to exist and thrive during these crisis times. And this is a time when we don't know what's going to happen to a lot of us. And it's a blessing to live in the United States, because our government is going to bail out small business. Oh, yeah, that's right. They were going to bail out small businesses
You
like
mean
mine.
small businesses like the Los Angeles Lakers?
That's right. And small businesses like Ruth Chris and Shake
Yeah.
Shack, and
Yeah.
and all these other smart, sophisticated corporations
Right.
that, yes, they're small businesses, and they have accountants, and we hadn't even gotten our taxes done yet because we knew it would been postponed. And
Right.
we're a small business. We're 10 people, 10 amazing people. We have people located in other parts of the world. I have staff in Syria, Nabil Eid, who is amazing. Jasmine, who is blind, and she's in the Philippines, and she's a wow young woman that's blind and amazing leader. David Perez, who is our CFO, and wow, he's
Mhm.
just such amazing young man,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he lives in Costa Rica. So I get that the United States government is not going to help me with those team members. I'm also very typical small business in that it's the gig economy. So I couldn't afford to put everyone on payroll. So I only have a few people on payroll to make sure we can get insurance, blah, blah, blah. But we went to apply for aid because I believe that my small business deserves to exist. And I believe that my employees with disabilities have a lot to say and a lot of value to the world. And all the money got taken by big corporations. The Lakers, they were saying they had what, $4 billion franchise. So certainly
Uh,
they needed to get this. And you know
oh,
what?
absolutely. That's what it was intended for, right?
And I don't want to say, you got to be kidding me again, but come on, Deborah, why are you
Yeah,
surprised? Why are you
yeah,
surprised that you have political people at the top that are walking into the Mayo Clinic in a COVID-19 crisis with COVID-19 patients? Everyone in the room is wearing a mask except our political leaders. Um, I know these things about the world. And then how I was fascinated yesterday to see, I went to do something on work because, we do social media, and I went to post something and I saw UFOs trending and aliens among us. And I just couldn't resist that, to see what that was. Why is that trending in the United States? And that's when I saw that the Pentagon had released these three previously leaked videos. Well, why would I care about that, Doug? It's
I
alien.
know.
Well,
Right.
I actually do care about it because I believe that we're not alone. I'd like to hope that, extraterrestrials will come and help us out because we're in trouble. But at the same time, somebody equated it like when the United States, went into Afghanistan to fix Afghanistan. The
Yeah,
people don't really appreciate us coming in there and
yeah,
fixing them. And probably we wouldn't appreciate if extraterrestrials just came and fixed everything for us, because what does that even mean?
right.
So how could we be talking about small business bailout and extraterrestrials and people with disabilities, and at the same time my heart aches for the other small businesses, not in other countries where the government isn't printing money. And
Right.
once again, the money isn't going to where it's supposed to be going. Big surprise. And I watched Michael Moore's new show that he put out for free, and I appreciate that, Michael Moore, called The Planet of Humans. And as many of you would probably know, I'm a big environmentalist. I really, really, really care about our planet. I mean, if we don't have a sustainable planet, how
Right.
can
Yeah,
we
we don't
help
have another
people with
option.
disabilities?
Right.
And also the young people, I don't blame them for being so furious with us all. The older
I know.
generation, I don't blame them. I accept that, and I haven't done enough. I don't know what to do. Da, da, la, la, la. So it's all this uncertainty. So I'm thinking, anyway, just back to my comment about Michael Moore's free film on YouTube called Planet of Humans. It was very hard to watch and very discouraging. And as some of my audience knows, I struggle with anxiety and depression and ADHD. And I have a tendency to be more stressed during some of these times, like all of us.
I was going to
And
say, you're not the only one who has a
like all
tendency.
of us,
Yeah.
right? And people are sinking. Things are very, very scary for people. And so, does my business deserve to survive during whatever is going to happen over another business? Um, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying my business does add value to the world. And I'm saying that I have spent so much of my own money, so much of my own money. I've mortgaged my home. I've
Yeah.
done really stupid things financially because I believe that money is better when it's circulated, it's being used for good. And I wish people that had a lot more money would also follow that, instead of saying, well, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in the green movement just so we can make more money. So it was very hard to watch,
Yeah.
you know, that the green movement is actually hurting, it is actually our earth, and big money once again is involved in it. And no green, there's not really, green energy is not green energy by itself. It's all on the grid. They showed an example of Earth Day, the concert, big concert, and they're saying, and it's totally green. Well, it's not exactly totally green. When it started raining,
Yeah.
they did plug into the grid, and also
Yeah.
they were using the grid for the concert, because you put those big lights on, you put the instruments. It takes a lot of power. So, not even trying to criticize people, doing these things, but it made me feel so sad that I thought that we were making progress, and actually it's just the same. But at the same time, Doug, when that happened, I also am sitting back because what we were going to do, you and I were going to talk about some positive changes that we're seeing because of the COVID-19 virus. Like
Absolutely.
in less than a day, or, estimates a day or so, um, in India, they go home and they have almost within a day, 44%, um, you know, reduction in air pollution, and they can see the Himalayan mountains for the first time in 40 years. And
Right.
we know the waters are clearing up, and we know the smog in LA has been reduced. So it scared me as I saw how, once again, big money is all over the screen. And once again, they just are using it to keep their money. And I get, you want to keep your money and you want to keep your power, and but we're so tired of that. We're so tired of people lying to us and betraying us and only caring about the money at the expense of people. I know
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of it. And if my company doesn't survive this, that's unfortunate. I believe that whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and we're fighting because we believe in it. We want corporations to be better. One of my friends on social media had criticized me about working with Huawei. And I think it's so ridiculous because we are all one planet and we're all one people. How can we not work together? And they actually are doing really good things. I talked to them the other day about, I'm going to be on a webinar this afternoon with them. And I said, by the way, the webinar has to be captioned. And by
Mhm.
the way, everything you do all over the world, it has to
Has
be
to be
captioned.
captioned.
And they
Right.
agreed. And they agreed. And they went and they formed a relationship with a small captioning company here in the United States. And they're committed to this. So it seems like that's helping. And there's other things that helping, not helping, including there are a lot of people with disabilities in China, a lot of people that are aging. I'm just about people. I'm people. I'm very proud to be in this country. But what about the countries that aren't trying to help their businesses or the people, in the same way? Even though we're trying to do it, the money isn't once again going to the people that need it once again. And that's okay, Doug. I'm not even saying this to, I'm not criticizing the establishment. Maybe I'm part of the establishment. Maybe we're all part of the
Mhm.
establishment, but there is some hopeful things happening. I am curious about why the Pentagon decided to officially come out and show
It
these
is.
3 videos. Once
Yeah, it
again,
is
these
very
have been
interesting.
leaked, and they were leaked. They've been leaked for like 10 years and shown on a whole lot of things, including Dr. Stephen Greer's 3 movies, which I highly recommend. They're so interesting to watch. And I, I'm fascinated by that. But how do we move forward, Doug, in a time of such great uncertainty? We don't even know what it means. We don't know, will it will businesses support big businesses, support small businesses? Are we going to, is what going to happen, what happened in the financial crisis? I remember I was really, and my business Tech Access failed during that time
Yeah.
because the bank I was with failed, and another company bought us. And bought
Mhm.
isn't the right word, but whatever the bottom line is, they took my employees, and my employees had jobs, and they weren't,
Yeah.
my employees with disabilities, especially at that time, 2000, 10 and 11, and the aftermath of the financial crisis, you didn't want to throw them into the unemployment because still we are not valuing diversity. We're
Yeah.
just playing. You have these companies that have 400,000 employees, and they're so excited that they hired 10 people with autism. Thank God those 10 people with autism were hired. But
But
if you're
what about
really
the right?
serious,
Right.
yeah. So once again, the people that get hurt the most are the people, that with the disenfranchised
Yeah.
part of our population.
Marginalized talent are always the first ones to let go, the last ones to be hired back. So there's a lot of uncertainty about exactly what's going to happen. And I think the initial push, here's maybe some of the good news. The initial push is going to be to make everything the way it was. But
Yes.
I don't think that's going to be possible, you
And
know?
I don't want it to be the way it was. I'm tired of the
Yeah.
greed. I'm tired of it. And you see, even in your state right now, in Virginia, I applaud the governor of Virginia. I applaud the governor of Virginia for being more, aggressive with stay home, stay
Yeah,
safe. And when you look at our numbers, Doug, we have, it's a couple of days old, but I think 121 people had died in Virginia, which is so sad. Every one of
yeah,
those people matter, and they have family that loved them. And
yeah,
some of them are dying alone with our beautiful healthcare professionals taking care of them, which, by the way, May 6th is Nurses Day. And I'm very proud that Huawei has given me a budget to support nurses here in Virginia. And I selected Henrico Doctor's Office because, I'm sorry, Henrico Doctor's Hospital, which is part of HCA, Hospital Corporation of America, because, they saved my daughter's life.
yeah.
So I'm a little, partial to them, but we should all be thanking our healthcare workers and celebrating Nurses Day. And I don't think nurses should have one day. I think they should have a month or a year. And of course, they also are supporting the technicians. And there's so many people that are in our healthcare system, the people that matter, the people that come in the janitorial and that make sure the rooms are clean. And there's so many beautiful people that are part of our healthcare system. But so it's good that corporations are giving back. Are they doing enough? Yeah, I don't know. But we got to keep trying. We got to keep trying to to make the world a better place. But of the 121 people that died, Doug, 39 of them came from one nursing home in Virginia. And actually, my
Oh,
operations manager, Block, her mother was in that. It was in that nursing home before she passed a few years ago. So she knew a lot of the people. And 39 people, almost 40% of our deaths are in that one nursing home. And I heard on the news today, very sad story coming out of your state,
yes.
the Commonwealth of
Really,
Mass.
yeah, really awful. Yeah. We
You want
have
to talk about it just
the
for a minute?
Holyoke Soldiers Home, which has about 270 residents, and I believe it's now over 70 people have died from that home. So, it's I know they said like nearly a third of the residents have already died, and it's the worst outbreak that I'm aware of in the country.
Right.
So,
And
yeah,
these are
these are
these
veterans.
are World
These are
War
our
One,
military
World War
veterans. Yeah,
Two vets. Yeah, these are precious souls. And
yeah,
and I was watching Sweden has done, and they've had a lot more deaths, but
yeah.
is the population more, immune? And do you die now or do you die later? Do we care that
Yeah.
old people are dying and people
I hope we
with
care.
chronic health? I care. But once again, what do we want the world to look like? What do we want the world to be? Why am I tying UFOs into, well, I'm not the one that released the UFOs
Well, I think
videos in the
it just
middle of
adds
this.
to
The
uncertainty
Pentagon did,
too. Yeah,
right? So does that scare people that, the Pentagon came out and released these films, these videos that, by the way, somehow they'd already been leaked anyway? Or does that comfort us? Or does that continue to show the uncertainty? And so if you're looking at this from the lens of, I'm looking at it from the lens of, how do I stay safe? How do I keep my husband with dementia safe? What about my daughter with Down syndrome? What about her roommate? What about on and on and on and on and on? And so, and then of course I'm a business owner. How do I make sure that my business will thrive? And, it's sadly, even though there are some amazing corporations that have done stuff, we're still not really including people with disabilities and other disenfranchised. We're not. And you look at the lens of the people that are dying right now, our African American population in the US, they're a lot more vulnerable and a lot more deaths, and we're not really talking about it. And Lamondre Pugh just put out a couple of beautiful videos. If you're not following Lamondre Pugh, I would highly recommend it. He is
definitely.
putting out such beautiful content. Every time I talk to him, he makes me feel hopeful. And there's just some really it's intense. And so we wanted to talk about the intensity. We wanted to acknowledge it. I have people coming to me from all over the world, just terrified. And I struggle. Some days are worse, and my husband's very confused, obviously, about what's going on, and his cognitive impact
Yeah,
is greater during times of stress. which we all are, but can we be kinder to each other? Can we be just a little bit more patient with each other? The other day I went to the grocery store, Publix, had to go to Publix because they're in Richmond now, and I'm originally from Florida. And I went in and I thanked everyone I met that was wearing their masks and working for us. These first line, the first responders that are out there, they're out there helping us, protecting us, and I thanked them. But I was curious to see the people that were not wearing masks. And I'm not trying to judge people, but there's so little that we can do. We have so little control. So what I can do is make sure I'm wearing a mask. And I want to thank Emily Haw, my son's fiance, for making us these beautiful masks. But
That's really cool.
when you don't wear a mask, do you not care if you're going to get it? Do you not care if your loved ones are going to get it? Do you not care if you expose me? Maybe I'm wearing a mask so you don't think you need to. The thing is, we don't know, right? There's so much we don't know about that. Should I judge somebody for not wearing a mask? I'm trying to figure it out in my head, and I don't know. And I know that I was watching this one man get dragged off of a bus or a trolley car, because he wasn't wearing a mask. And I don't think we should do that. But what responsibility do we have with each other? What do you want the world to look like? What do you want the world to be? The world is now changing dramatically fast. It's just dramatic how it's happening. Once again, on top of it, Pentagon's going to admit that there are UFOs. So, all right. Or is that the right word? And in this movie, they're talking about, well, really, you shouldn't call them extraterrestrial. You should call them extraterrestrials, not aliens. And I'm like, okay, do I need to update my diversity
You need to do
language?
diversity
All right.
language. Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So Me Too, gender fluid. I'm always learning. So now I shouldn't call extraterrestrials aliens. So, okay, cool. Just update my, but how do people, how do you deal with all this, Doug? And how do you, because it's the intensity, the speeding up, it's really, really hard for people, especially people that were already struggling with their mental health, and who were they and where did they belong in the world. And then you have interesting things like, yes, I'm a small business owner and I care so much about my team and their families. And the work that we do, we think is very important. We think we're adding value. We're not the only ones, nor should we be the only ones talking about these, but we do feel that we're contributing. And so how do you keep contributing at a time of great change when you don't know? They say, I heard on, I listen to a teeny bit of news every day. And I will give a shout out to Amazon. I actually tell Alexa to give me the news, and they give me a really obnoxious commercial from Netscape or whatever, first. But I understand that's appropriate. It's okay for me to listen to commercials. I get my free news, but sometimes the commercials shout at me, and I don't like that. I personally would rather that you not make your commercials so loud, assuming we're not going to listen. We're going to go into the back room or something like that. But still, whatever. But it's really intense, Doug. It's intense, and the suicides are up, the domestic violence is up. Now that we're sheltering at home, if you're in a violent situation, maybe I don't care if I slap you in the face now, because nobody's going to see it. And I sadly am a child of abuse, and we would be whipped with all kind of things, objects, but sometimes the people that were administering the punishment, they were very careful about where the bruises and stuff were. And I think all parents probably do the best they can. It makes you maybe a stronger person as you get older. It's just my past. But the people that are doing that are not being as careful, and that's chilling, and telling of a society that needs to continue to evolve. But and also, Doug, everybody's having this really pleasurable sheltering at home, safe. We have all this time to watch extra movies, and we just have all this. Yeah. Or So let's talk about that for a second.
Well, that's a very small group of people because again, that assumes that even if you have all that time, maybe you've lost your job, maybe you have small children, maybe you have, you're caring for a disabled person at home or an elderly person, or your husband has, has some kind of cognitive issues. I mean, there's lots of things, reasons why that's only true for a small percentage.
Right.
I guess if I think about sort of where, for myself, what I want to leave people thinking about is this. you know, Alan Watts, years and years and years ago, wrote a book called
Love his work.
Yeah, he's great. He wrote a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity, and he talked about how life is always insecure. That's the nature of life. It's transitory, right? That the Buddha said that 2,000 years ago, or more than that. And so we know that this will not last either, right? All this stuff will pass, and then there'll be the next thing. Well, if life is uncertain, then why wouldn't we let go of all the things that we do in order to be certain? Like, I'm going to hoard all my money. I'm going to treat people badly. I'm going to be greedy. A lot of the things that we do as human beings are about trying to gain certainty, for ourselves. If I'm greedy and I take everybody else's money, then I'll definitely, I'll be so rich I'll never have to worry again.
Right,
Well,
right.
maybe you
I'm
want
going to get
right.
mine. You go get yours.
I'll get mine and I'll be safe and I'll be certain. Well, we know that
That's right.
that world doesn't exist. So if the world is uncertain, maybe there we have some more freedom to take a chance to make a better world, and realize that, you know those actions, the only certainty is that if we try to go back to what we had before, then we're going to lose some of the good things that we have seen, like the skies are clearer, the air is
Right.
easier to breathe. There are some things that we could look at and say, wow,
Because
these are
we
some
went
good
home.
changes that we wouldn't want to lose. Right.
Right. Because we
Yeah.
went home. So we've spent
Yeah.
trillions of dollars on the green energy. And then, of course, we find, once again, you know, but all we had to do was get off the planet. I mean, go home and stop being on the roads and stop. And why are we all going to this one office anyway? It's ridiculous
Right.
when we have
Right.
technology. Why
Right.
are we forcing people to do this? Why are we forcing small
Exactly.
business owners in the United States to do the healthcare? I have spent so much money on healthcare as a small business that it's hard
I'm
for me to
sure.
stay. It's hard to get, cash
Yeah.
flow positive. But why is it my responsibility as a business owner? Why is it not? Isn't it the government's responsibility to make sure that people in a enlightened society have access to medical care? I mean, now we're getting, hot spots in our animal processing plants, and
Right.
we're going to have a meat storage. So I know these people are going and getting all this meat. Well, maybe you're eating too much meat. Maybe we're being really,
Right.
really horrible to animals.
Right. I
Who
thought about
are
that too. Yeah.
we as human beings? Who do we want? What do you want the world to look like? What do
Right.
you want the world to
Right.
look like? And
Exactly.
what confuses me, Doug, is I think, well, I'm for the green, so I'm supporting that. And then you peel back the layers and you're like, really? So I'm not supporting. I'm just supporting the people with the money as usual. And and who gets hurt during this? The poor people, the disenfranchised people, the small business owners that want to make a difference because we're so crazy to be business owners. I made I made consistent good money when I worked for big corporations. And so now, once again, I'll be criticized because I work for big corporations as clients. I have a business to run and I'm trying to influence them to make good decisions
Right.
about the world. So, what is it?
Absolutely.
And who do you want to be? And what responsibility do you have? And I also want to say this, then I have a friend of mine a young friend of mine who's very, very depressed and he's really, really struggling. And I've been mentoring him and helping him because if you want something, give it away. If you want to feel more calm about the times, help somebody else feel more calm. If you want to feel more peaceful, if you want to feel loved, give it to somebody else. I think that's one of the wisest things that we can do. If you want to be peaceful, go. And as I'm trying to tell him, it's going to be okay, we're going to figure it out. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to have a different world. Maybe this is the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to us. We don't even realize it. I know I'm scratching my face because of allergies, and I'm conscious, don't touch your face. And as soon as I think that,
Well,
I
it's
have to itch
okay.
my nose.
You're but no what yeah, you're on Zoom, so it's not like yeah.
Well, and also I've been really good about, I've been doing what the, my governor's telling me to do because I want to be responsible. Um, but I do believe that, Doug, that if you want something, give it away to somebody else and it comes right back to you. So I really believe that. I believe most people care about the world and want the world to be a better place, and they don't want other people to suffer, you know, at the expense of somebody else, be sitting on. there there are some of the richest people in the world that are doing nothing to help. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works in your head. How is that okay? I don't understand that, but that's okay. There's a lot I don't understand. But so, Doug, what do we do? What do we? So
So
let
if
me
I
give
could
you the
leave, yeah.
last say.
Oh,
Tell us
thank you.
how to
Yeah.
help. Tell us small business owners what we do. Tell us the people that really care about people
Well, I
and
wouldn't
people that
presume
are
to tell
older.
every person, yeah, I, I wouldn't presume to
Come
tell
on,
every
Doug.
what to do, but I would say that there is an opportunity in this time where the uncertainty has shaken up our lives, and it's like all the pieces have been scattered, and now we have an opportunity to pick up the pieces, and how do we want to put them back together? We
Yes.
have a choice. We didn't have a choice about it being about the pieces being scattered, but how do we want to put them back together? Do we want to put them back together for our own selfish greed and our own fear and our and to play small, or do we want to put them back together in a way that benefits everyone and creates a better world?
Right. And now the Pentagon releases that there are extraterrestrial, well, that there's some
And I want to say
unidentified
hi
flying.
to the I want to say hello. I want to be the first one to greet the extraterrestrials.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe they've been assisting us all along. I don't know, but the Pentagon is the one that released him. And why? Why did they release him at this time? Is it because, anyway, I won't go down that path. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
But
that's
is
for
all
another
that sort of
episode.
connected? I don't know, but I
I
do know
know.
we are all connected. And
Deborah, the way things have been going, next week might be our extraterrestrial episode about, the
yeah,
landing and the meeting.
with a
So who
guest,
knows?
with a
With a
guest.
guest.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a fascinating time, and I hope all of you are staying safe. And I hope that us being very honest here about what we're worried about and what we're challenged with and what we're seeing helps helps you as you're processing, because I think we're all processing. And it's if nothing else, it's a fascinating and meaningful time. And I'm hoping the world is going to continue to evolve. And I know I'm going to do everything I can, as long as I'm here, to continue to try to make a difference in the world. And I'm going to screw up, and I'm going to I'm going to fall down, I'm going to skin my knees, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to but I'm trying. And I think that goes a long way, don't you think, Doug? We got to at least try
I do.
to help
That's
the
right.
human race evolve. Yeah, so we
I
got to
agree.
do it for your daughters and for your son and for all the other daughters and sons and all the people in the world and everyone that is making a care workers that are such a blessing during these times. And the people in the grocery stores and at Lowe's, and I say Lowe's because my sister works at Lowe's, and Home Depot and all the rest, everybody that's helping, Amazon. I know we criticize Amazon a lot, but things would be so much harder if we didn't have Amazon helping with deliveries and stuff. But I do believe the corporations need to protect their workers. I know this morning there was a news story that was talking about the meat packers need to go back, and that processing, they need to do it. And they're not going to be allowed to sue their employer if they're not protecting them. If you're an employer, you need to be protecting your workers. Nothing should be more important to you than protecting your workers. And you shouldn't do it because you're afraid of being sued. You should be doing it because how can you not take care of your workers? Shame on you. You have the money to take care of your workers. Do it. Take care of your workers. But anyway, everybody be safe. And I hope that this conversation was a little valuable to you. We're all processing and figuring it out, but I'm hopeful. You hopeful, Doug?
I am. I am hopeful.
Yes. Well, thank you once again for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And I appreciate everything you and your family have walked during this. And once again, we think Doug probably had the COVID-19 virus. And so maybe he's someone walking around with immunities. But y'all stay safe out there. And we got this. We got this.